As the road to the 2025 Nations Cup and European Championships begins, the focus isn't just on selecting the strongest riders, it's about building a pathway that supports young athletes through every stage of development.
Winning is important, but not at all expense. We have to educate them the correct way, be it how to ride well, how to develop the physique of the horse, you nurture its mind, and encouraging people to ride in such a good way that other nations look at us and go, my God, the Irish won, but they also won riding really well.
Hi, I'm Melanie Young, and this is the Horsesport Ireland podcast. Today, we are going to explore how a more structured, athlete-focused approach is shaping Ireland's youth show jumping programme for long-term impact. With a new leadership team heading the Youth Show Jumping High Performance Programme, we'll discuss the pathways they're creating for young athletes hoping to succeed, along with the team culture they're hoping to foster, and their goals for the future of Irish show jumping. Joining us are newly appointed lead consultant Denis Flannelly and youth athlete liaison Liz Brennan. Denis and Liz, you're both very welcome to the show.
Thank you very much for having us.
Thanks, Melanie. Great to be here.
Denis, let's start with you. You've been coaching for years, involved in the industry for so long. You're a qualified HSI Level 3 coach in show jumping and dressage. Can you share a little bit about your journey into coaching and sort of how it shaped your philosophy and brought you to where we are today?
I suppose I came up through the pony club, went out hunting every Sunday with my mother. My father would be the driver, and off we went. Sunday and Wednesday, actually. Most Wednesdays I'd get a half day off school and go hunting. Was involved in the Bray Pony Club. Did a lot of work, did a lot with them, national championships, and competed abroad with the Pony Club over in Weston Park. Had some very nice ponies, so I was jumping with them as well as eventing. That was my initial education. I'd half planned on doing veterinary, wasn't too far away, worked hard for a few years. But when my parents interrogated me, they realised I only wanted to be a vet to work with horses and ride. And second choice was accountancy, and I wanted accountancy because my dad had a firm, and I reckoned that if I was the boss of that firm, I'd be able to take as much time off as I wanted and ride. So they decided that I had to find a way of earning a living out of horses. So I went to Archer Agricultural College, where there I got a certificate in equine business management and did my BHS exams. Then I did the ABRS exams, became a fellow of the Association of British Riding Schools. And it was at that time when I was away that my parents decided to set up a riding school. So we had an equestrian centre in Carrickmines that was private, but that then became a riding school. So I came back to that, built up that business. The opportunity came to buy Kill Equestrian. It was at that stage called Irish Cadets All School. It's Cadet School of Riding. So we bought that, and we were there until 2017. Over that time then, I was a little bit dragged into the coaching programme, the development of it. It was Jerry Mullins who would have said to me at the time, he dragged me in and said, look, we need young people in this, because I was the young one then, and people that I worked with, my idols, were all together developing what was the old coaching program. Everyone came together with this, trying to develop coaching in Ireland and bring it to another level. So I was the young fella at the time in on that. And we did put together a very good program. We've updated it over the years. It's something that I'm particularly very proud of. But then I decided I was going to go through the program. So I did my level 1, my level 2, my level 3. Then the HSI asked if I'd be interested in becoming a tutor. So I went to Limerick University. That was wonderful for my education to work with I was only equestrian on the course in Limerick at the time. So I spent a year in Limerick working with all the other sports, working with swimming, boxing, football, GAA, every other sport, tennis, rugby. One thing I learned from that is that for sure, as much work as we had done, there was a lot more to do. Again, we looked at our own program, we updated, So it's that's been my journey to, I suppose, as a rider, I competed horses up to Grand Prix, always produced young horses the correct way, to the best I could, working them correctly on the flat, always valuing the correct way of going, make them physically stronger, mentally happier, but also more easier to sell, So I always had my own business, apart from running the equestrian centre, which had a few different sides to it, to keep a ship like that afloat. There's many aspects. We had a riding school, for the general public. We had a training centre for students. We also had the shows, and there was shows 3 days a week. We ran shows in Kill. We had a livery yard, and then I had my own private yard producing competition horses up to Grand Prix, and not just here in Ireland, but also competed a good bit abroad. But I always place emphasis on the correct production of horse and rider. And then from then onwards, I've been very lucky to work with wonderful athletes. Like, thinking about them over the years, ones that have won the goals with me is James Derwin, Kate Derwin, Kate in Zuwalda in 2019, James in Stragom in Poland. There are a few that Fano last year, winning the bronze. Mikey Pender, who's come home with a number of team. Sean Monaghan. Like, I could go on about this. I've had a host of wonderful young people that have gone on considerably well. The two Brennan boys, Owen and Timmy, Conan Reese Williams. So I suppose my step into this has come from just working with athletes. But this opportunity came up, and I'm very privileged and honoured to be asked now to handle more than my own students going to championships, but actually the teams.
Yeah, I mean, you've essentially listed off the who's who of Irish youth athletes that have won medals, and you've sort of had your part to play in it. Is that what sort of drew you to this role, to have sort of a greater input into, the system as a whole and the setup and the programme, I guess? Yeah, is that what drew you to that, having that success to date? Yeah,
I've always been interested. Like, I'm just thinking back on the different years now, and there's a number I've left out. Seamus Hughes Kennedy, we had a wonderful time in Hungary in 2017. There's a number I've missed out, but there's, it does. I enjoy working, for sure I enjoy working with young people, but working with anyone who just wants to become better. So it's not, I can't say to you that it's just high performance. And that's one of the things that attracted me to this, is that I was asked if I'd become the manager of our and director of our strategic program for youth. And I suppose last week when we went to Centaur, I wanted to make people feel that it's not just about the five. It wasn't just about the five on the team. Every Irish rider on pony or horse last week in Centaur, myself and Liz, we watched. And, I spent as much time talking to them as I could. Liz, she'll talk to her in a minute. She was brilliant going around and talking to all the families, liaising with them and having somebody there. But working with riders, even if they just want to be better, that's the first thing for me. Don't come to me just to be part of a number or part of a group. I run a lot of clinics around the country, and I have them as young. Actually, Millie Jeffers, who competed last week in the children horse team, was my youngest ever student. I think I met her in Maryville over COVID, and I said to her then, I said, "Millie, you will ride for Ireland," and she did.
Yeah, no, it's amazing. And I think that's really important, and probably a really important, I'm guessing, aspect of the programme that you guys probably want to get across is that it's not just for those, like, there's only going to be a select few that get to go to the Europeans, and that's just how it is. Like, it's nothing, you could be just as talented, but whether the chips don't fall in your direction for that day, but it's the idea of having this programme that you're sort of building for the future.
We're through the year, there's going to be, we're going to run some clinics and help develop riders who don't necessarily aren't going to get to the championships this year, but help maybe some of them that would work with this year will help develop them for next year. We're thinking of running, bringing away some development teams later in the year. So it's very much about all the youth. Sport Ireland have actually given Horse Sport Ireland a directive to have a pathway for young people from when they start, that they could make it to national Grand Prix level, they could make it to teams, they could compete abroad, they could make it to championships, they could make it to the Olympics. So we're trying to develop a pathway that those young people can develop in the correct way. And I emphasize, we had a meeting last week, and I think there was 100 in it. There was a lot of people there, with their families, their children, the athletes that were competing, the trainers, and we brought everyone together after the two teams did extremely well in Centaur. Our young rider team was third on the day before, and on that day the pony team won in the morning, and the juniors, in an unbelievable jump off, took second. But it was like, at that point, I'm not going to say we didn't care if we won or didn't win, but like, they gave it their all.
Liz, I suppose if we bring you in here, we've spoken about this, getting people together and keeping that constant communication open. You've been involved in youth teams in show jumping for years and different committees. What motivated you to take on this role?
Well, I suppose my background has been, I've come through show jumping Ireland. I was the National Pony chairperson, and in that role I was on the high performance committees for the ponies, and I identified that we had lots of talent in our country and lots of good horses and pony combinations, and we travelled to championships, but we were nearly there, but we were never quite there. So the first year, or the second year I was involved, I decided that we should change our programme. So I wrote a programme, and it involved bringing in some outside people. So with that, we were able to progress through a year in a very structured manner and go to the Europeans. And as Denis mentioned earlier, we were successful. We had a team gold, an individual gold and silver, and a fourth place finish. Now, that was the first time we won team gold in 35 years. So that year we surrounded ourselves with very good people, very good mentors. We involved Alan Wade. He was our international course designer. He was very involved in the whole programme right through. We put the children in a very structured programme where the ponies were not allowed to jump outside of their training and the international competition and their trials. So in actual fact, none of our ponies jumped any more than 11 counting rounds from the first day we saw them to the first day of championship. So we were very successful. So I suppose success breeds success. So on the back of that, then I moved into the Young Rider programme. And again, I was on the high performance committee and worked alongside our chef there. And again, we had a lot of success at underage, from children to junior. And at that time, the Young Riders were involved. So I always liked being involved. I've come from a very strong equestrian background. I live on a farm here now where I inherited a lot of equestrian knowledge. There's been horses on the farm for hundreds of years. So, it was instilled into me, horses and equestrianism. So, like Denis, it's in us and we want to do well. When we get one success, we want further success. When this position became available, it was, we thought about it. We came together. We put together a very good proposal, a very good programme for events throughout the year to Horseport Ireland. They liked it. Our remit was to produce and develop a programme and to have a seamless transition for our junior riders into senior riders, into obviously young riders, and then into senior level, where they would be hopefully selected to compete maybe 2-star, 3-star, 4-star events. We have a very responsible job. We're very conscious of the mandate that we have. The minute they join our programme, they become athletes, and they represent Ireland, whether they're riding individually, on a team, whether it's IP or OP, whatever it is. The minute they attend the show as a member of Horseport Ireland, Show Jumping Ireland, they are deemed to be athletes and they have a responsibility to conduct themselves. And I think we made it very clear. There is a very important document now coming out soon, and they will all have the opportunity to read it, study it, and become familiar with their expectations. But, we're all about success. And our end game is European Championship podium finishes, ideally the middle steps. And, we have a summer ahead of us now where we're going to look at these athletes, identify them, identify the combinations, and hopefully bring them through. With the ponies, they come through a trial system, a 3-day trial system. The children, now historically, they wouldn't be involved in a trial, but we have decided that we're going to put them through a trial and build them. And, once they're in this programme, we can work with them. We can build on, what they've done, what we hope them to do, and bring them further and hopefully have that success. And then at the end of the year, there's developmental shows, and the people are very excited about that because some of our riders are in the final year. So obviously this is it for them. After this, they move into the next step up along, ponies into juniors, juniors into young riders. So there's nice shows there at the end of the year that hopefully they'll get to attend and further develop. And, some of them, there are combinations at the moment, pony rider, horse rider, but some of them, may get new horses, and we're open to looking at them. There'll be no one excluded. If someone pops into our vision obviously, and if they're a contender, it's all, it's very inclusive at the moment. So, we've had success past the last weekend and thrilled to bits. We had a win in the ponies. We nearly had a win in the juniors. We were 2 seconds off junior cup holders. But, we were in Belgium. The Belgians fielded the best team. On home ground, it's more difficult. So, we felt we won. We won. In our hearts, we won. But, next day out, we'll be in France. And again, the French will field a very strong team. But we'll be there to beat them, and take them on. And I suppose, as Denis would say, these shows show us who our competition are going forward into the summer. There's different combinations going every week to these shows. So last week we had one team. Next week it's a different team. So again, we give opportunity to, the different riders. So, the pressure comes on them if they're on a team one week and next week they're a different team. Some riders will become more exposed. Some riders will have to step up. But that's okay, and they will step up. Pressure comes upon them and they don't really realise it. But we're there to win.
Yeah, absolutely. And it's exciting. It's really exciting times. And it's so wonderful to hear that you're both so clearly unified on this approach and what you're expecting and what your plans are. And I guess what the main goal is. I suppose, Denis, it's very clear the knowledge, understanding, but also the passion that you have for this sport and that you both have for this sport and developing the future of the sport in Ireland in particular. Could you just explain to us a little bit about your two roles and how they'll work? And are there areas that you will take lead on or Liz will take lead on? And yeah, just explain a little bit how the relationship between you two will work over this programme.
Okay, well, I suppose I'll start by saying, passion is wonderful. But, if you're not educated, if you don't know, how to go about to produce a combination to go into the ring and beat the course designer number one. In other words, have them trained, well prepared. And it's for sure as a rider turned coach, now tutor through the program at HSI as I became a tutor. I want to help as many athletes as I can, but also the coaches of the athletes. In years gone past, I've gone to championships and I've sometimes been frustrated that when it comes to a championship, everyone wants to give their voice, and it actually can be very confusing. And I've seen it happen. I've seen medals being lost. Because at a championship, I remember at one stage I was with Kate, and Kate was jumping in. She was last to go to jump for the gold. And for some reason that day, for the first round, anyone who was a coach at that championship arrived into the practice arena. And I looked around and I went, what's going on here? And I said, I'm with her all year, with her father, Francie. That's all she needed. The chef to keep, perfect. Chef to keep should be there. But there should be the three of us. And I just asked Mikey, I said, Mikey, could you go around and ask everyone, please, to leave the arena now? Don't need any extra voices. Because I've seen the wrong voice at the wrong time saying something to an athlete as they're going into the ring. It happened just recently. Watch the time. The time is tight. We knew the time was tight. I didn't need somebody shouting that across the arena. And the poor guy went in. He went too fast inside the flowers. He was meant to go around it. And next thing is, there was a mistake. And that blew his championship. So part of the meeting we had with the athletes of the day was to acknowledge, first of all, that in the month of April, they've come out. It's the first Nations Cup show of the year. I said to them, nothing that they did at that show is going to be held against them regarding selection later. I just want people to go out, see where they are. It's a great barometer to go out into competition and see what you did well, but what you didn't do well. So that was, first of all, I wanted to congratulate the athletes in doing so, being brave enough to say, yes, come on, we'll load up, we'll go to Belgium, we'll see where we are. The fact that we got results is a bonus. It was not far, but beyond what I expected, but it wasn't my main target or Liz's target. It was that they went to the show, they competed, and we see where they were. 3 of them podium, brilliant. But it was really exposing an exploratory show, see where we're going. I wanted to inspire and motivate them because there was lots of mistakes made. Like even though we had a first, second and third, they did so making many mistakes. Well, what could happen if those mistakes were lessened? And that's, again, another reason to pull them together. We wanted to let them know that what our role is to help them, is to help every athlete, not just the 5 that are going to the championships. And that's what attracted me to this. was the educational point of view. I love education. I'm passionate about training, developing combinations, horse welfare, making. On every course that I give for Horse Sport Ireland, coaching course, as a tutor, I finish with a line, and it's not. And I say to people, I said, no, we're in a privileged position to earn a living out of doing something that we love, that we're passionate about. But never forget, we started with a hairy pony somewhere in a field or in a riding school, and we have to always put horse welfare first. So winning is important, but not at all expense. We have to educate them the correct way. How to ride well, how to develop. As you develop the physique of the horse, you nurture its mind, and you keep the horse happy. So horse welfare for me is so high it's at the top, and encouraging people to ride in such a good way that other nations look at us and go, "My God, the Irish won, but they also won riding really well." And then we're making the job easier for Michael Blake, our chef, that he's going to be given young riders that all ride in a system. They all ride with method. They all ride correctly, following the horses work in the correct way, following principles of the training scale. And, and just to finish on that, we've had such support through the office. I have found the support, and Liz has found the support from HSI, from our time of interview to the time that we've been appointed, to be wonderful. And since, it's a wonderful team that we have, And speaking of team, when I was attracted to this, I didn't look beyond Liz. Liz was the first call I made, because I knew that Liz is a real people's person. She's wonderful at talking to people, giving them guidance. She's been there. She's got great experience, and to have Liz, by my side when I'm going through is wonderful. So I think we're on a good path.
Yeah, absolutely. And I think, again, it's showing through in everything that you're doing, that you're getting that support from above you, which means you're allowed to support everything that's happening underneath your both of your banners, which is just incredible. I mean, we've spoken about the success that both you've had personally, Denis, with Irish youth teams, and you, Liz. I think I tried to do a little bit of a count, and I counted something like 15 medals over the last 10 years at youth championships. Now, don't quote me on that. There could be a few that I've missed. But I suppose, what's your vision for this programme? If I was to talk to you again in, 3 years' time or 5 years' time, what's your sort of overall vision for this, and where do you see this going?
Well, our remit is to develop underage riders to make seamless transition into the senior programme, with the view to maybe not obviously the next Olympics, but the following Olympics in Brisbane. So that's our intention, to do that. And, Ireland is punching above its weight at the moment, where, last year we were number one in the world at senior level. And, and hopefully again, we will, we retain and remain in those positions. But, our young riders feed off all that as well. They know exactly what's going on. Like, we have a young rider team there now who was successful last year at the Europeans, and there's 3 members of that team currently there. So, those positions have to be filled. We were lucky we were able to bring some young riders to Centaur last week, and they were excited to go, and they finished third, So those young riders will obviously be selected through the seniors now to attend, and not them, but maybe other young riders to make up the positions for the senior Europeans this year. No, the young Europeans this year. So very exciting times ahead. So, and we're delighted to be part of that.
Yeah, absolutely. And I suppose we've mentioned it plenty before. You've hit the ground running with that success in Centaur. Denis, it must have been a nice sort of feeling, a little, I don't want to say weight off your back, but a nice way to kick off the year, put it that way.
Yeah, I mean, for sure, it's a journey. It's a journey I'm on too. I probably didn't realise there's quite as much background work, and I had to put my normal coaching on the side there as we got closer and closer, because but look, it was always going to be front loaded. We had the appointment only a couple of weeks, or the appointment was made just a couple of weeks before we went to Centaur. So really we had to look at combinations. I had videos coming in. I don't know how the phone hasn't exploded. People that had horses they want me to see, or combinations that they weren't ready yet. I had to encourage a number of them, because they said, "Oh, we're not ready yet. We'd like to maybe think about May." And I said, "No, we are ready. Come on, let's go." Because and giving people the gentle push, and also letting them know that it was this month of April is exploratory. We just want people to get out, get into the ring and do what they can do. Going back to, what Liz said about the amount of athletes we have developed in the sport and gone on to great things. Like, I don't know, as of today, do we still have more in the top 100 than any other nation in the world? But we punch above our weight. We bring so many more, and I believe we have more athletes in the top 100 in show jumping in the world than any other nation. That is because of what? It's phenomenal, but it's because of what happens through our education here in Ireland. I believe our coaching program has had a major influence on our success, our medal success at youth level. Because so many of the coaches that have had athletes at championships, we've had them on courses, seen them walk away going, I really like that, and I must improve my flat work, or I must improve my education, because the sport keeps changing, and we're either progressing. If we stand still, we're falling behind, basically. As the sport goes ahead, we have to keep looking at what course designers, the nature of the fences, the nature of the material, the colors they're using, the lines they're using, how delicate everything has gone, the time allowed. The sport has, I suppose maybe I was naive in thinking they couldn't change it an awful lot more 10 years ago. And the lines I've seen them using now in the last 10 years are new lines again. So the course designers are thinking, how are we going to lay down more challenges for the athletes? And if the coaches aren't doing their job and analysing it correctly, they're being left behind. And by the way, so far I've spoken only about the horse and the horse's fitness and building the athlete and paying attention to how it's working on the flat and its nutrition. There are four elements of success: physical fitness, mental fitness, technical education, and tactical awareness. And if those four boxes are not ticked at the highest level, we are not prepared at the highest level. For example, I've spoken to anyone who's into tennis, Djokovic. Marco is Djokovic's physical fitness. He's a guru. He's amazing. My son was lucky enough to work with him at one stage. But I've spoken to him about maybe he could be involved in the program in some way, or he could send one of his guys. Djokovic credits his success, his longevity in the sport, his lack of severe injury to Marco. And he's a great ambassador for tennis, and Marco is just a great guy, and I would love him to be involved in some way. So we want to make sure our athletes are also thinking about their own well-being, physical and mental, that their own fitness. Riding is for sure is very beneficial, but it's not enough. You need to work on your own fitness off the horse. The higher the jump, the more the torque there is, the more balance is required. Distances are becoming shorter on the landing side, and if the rider lands and collapses for 2 strides, well, and all of a sudden then you have to go to the horse's mouth, and then you take the focus off the rail. I could talk about that for hours, trying to keep and improving the hind leg and the balance, and so much of that. We have 2 live balances that are continually changing, and unless the rider is in a place of balance, and they can hold their core to help support the rest of their body, or engage the core to support the rest of their body, they're going to be at a major disadvantage. So fitness off the horse is really important. And just before I leave that, we mentioned earlier about welfare and culture. We want to create a culture here that we're always thinking about welfare of the horse. And one thing that came out of last week is that the involvement of all of us as a team and the spirit within the team was, regardless of the result, was high. And we're really looking forward to the year ahead with all that in mind.
I guess before we finish off, if there are athletes or people listening to the podcast who would like to get involved with the programme, or, maybe up until now have thought, no, that's way beyond what level I'm at, and are now kind of, having listened to this, hopefully realising that this is such an all-encompassing pathway for the future, as well as for, the more imminent competitions to date, what should they do, or how can they get involved?
Well, if I may come in there, they should contact Horse Ireland and put in an expression of interest. They basically take their details and then they pass them on to us. And what we do when we're not away, we We attend shows. We either go to a pony show to see who's competing, or we go to a horse show. At the moment, the Pony Spring Tour is on, and the TRM 135 Spring Tour is on. And first week in May, then the National Grand Prix kick off, and the Horse Premier in Barnadown. So again, when we're available, we will be attending those shows. And anyone is free to come and speak to us, but we will be watching and identifying anyone. Any potential combinations, we will approach them. But we will be having a trial first week in May, or second week in May. And at that trial, it'll run over 3 days. It'll be open to our pony riders, and they will be asked to attend over the 3 days. The format will be Friday, Saturday, Sunday. They will be asked to jump day one, a 1-round competition. From that, then we'll get the order of go for day 2, which will be a Nations Cup style competition, 2 rounds over time allowed. Open water, closed water on the second round. And then day 3 will consist of a Grand Prix. It may be 1 round, it may actually be jump off, but definitely 1 round. We will be using an international standard course designer. We will be engaging with the course designer and the trainers throughout the whole weekend. We will set it up like they're attending an FEI event where they will be locked down for the weekend. Ponies will be kept on site. We will have an FEI steward available. They will be asked to do a trot up, a correct trot up, where they will be trained to do it properly. It's very important, your trot up, because if you have a pony or a horse with an issue, you'll have to be, present that pony correctly, to make sure that they pass the trot up. We will have a vet on site, and we will also have, now obviously the vet will be on site to identify any issues with the animal, and to go through their passports and to go through their vaccinations and show them that everything is updated correctly on their app. And the steward will talk to them about any regulation for any new regulations or any issues that they will, be up against at the championships. So basically it'll be like an in-house event, and, we will identify from that 2 teams then to attend our 2 shows. So the first show will be in Zuwalde in Holland, and the second, that's end of May. And the second event then will be in Hagen in Germany. So we will get our 2 squads from that, and they'll be asked to attend these 2 shows.
And the children on horses as well, they're going to be involved in that trial too. With those dates, they're going to continue at the same time. There's an RTF qualifier on in the middle of it, but we're going to have a day at the beginning and a day at the end. And as Liz has alluded to, that from the trial, we identify half of them go in one direction, half the other. It's a difficult time with exams. So that bit regarding the show in Hagen, but we'll figure that out. And the other thing that Liz had said, it's very important. We teach our riders. Sometimes an animal might have a particular way of going. Doesn't mean it's not sound. So, but by rehearsing the trot up correctly, you can show its animal at its very best. But we do not want to get to a championship and the championship end on day 1 at the trot up. So we have a plan afoot for the next little period of time, so we can identify the best combinations to go forward to those 2 shows.
Can I just finish on one thing there about fostering good team spirit? I think it's very important. I think it's something that they learn at a very young age. They learn it on the hurling pitch, on the rugby pitch, and we definitely want to implement it here in our sport. We have very young athletes competing, but good team spirit comes not just from the rider, it comes from the people that surround them. And we definitely want to encourage it and try and foster it and have it, it's part of their lives then going forward.
Yeah, absolutely. And I think hopefully listeners will have got a huge amount from this. And as you mentioned, if there are people that want to get involved, get in touch with Horse Sport Ireland or come up and meet you guys at the shows and get involved, because this is really, really exciting and it's so important for the future of our sport. Denis and Liz, thank you so much for joining us today. We're really looking forward to seeing this youth programme and the youth teams out in action over the coming weeks and years.
Super. Thanks, Melanie.
Thank you very much for having us.
If you would like to find out more about what we've covered in this episode, you'll find notes, links and more in the description area of this podcast. Do remember to press follow for our show so you can get the next episode automatically. And do share it with a friend with an interest in the industry. Just tell them to search Horsesport Ireland on their podcast app. Our podcast today was produced by dustpod.io and brought to you by horsesportireland.ie.